Hey there, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday. TGIF, congratulations, you made it. I'm Veronica Cruz. Here are the top stories that we are tracking for you today.
The Lone Star State sizzling again under triple-digit air temperatures, making it feel like it's almost 115 degrees.
6:30 to 11 is probably the easiest part of the day because it's the coolest.
Try to work in the shade area, keep our fans going and everything, and that's what helps us keep going.
SAG-AFTRA's national board unanimously voted to issue a strike order against the studios and streamers.
We are not being paid a fair share of the pie for what we are contributing to these industries.
Ukrainian forces have started receiving those controversial cluster bombs from the U.S.
The impact of cluster munitions can reach beyond their intended target, though.
They don't always immediately explode. Children can step on them.
We will not leave Ukraine defenseless at any point in this conflict, period.
Hey there, welcome to Scripps News Live. We begin this hour with the scorching heat wave gripping much of the country right now. More than 100 million Americans under extreme heat alerts. Temperatures in several states breaking records this week. Meteorologist Scott Withers is in Dallas for us with more on the impact of these extreme temperatures.
Everything's bigger in Texas, including the heat wave. The Lone Star State sizzling again under triple-digit air temperatures, making it feel like it's almost 115 degrees.
People don't understand that the heat is very dangerous, especially if you haven't been hydrated and if you're not used to it.
More people die every year from the heat than from tornadoes and hurricanes combined. Almost a third of the country stretching from the Mississippi River across the Southwest to the Pacific Ocean, sweating under heat advisories, watches, and those excessive heat warnings.
It's really sunny and hot.
It's more than hot, it's oppressive. Phoenix just can't cool down. It's been over 110 degrees every day this month and could shatter the record for consecutive days next week. While the locals are taking a plunge to cool down, officials are warning the tourists it's too hot to head out for a hike.
If it's 115 in the air, it's likely 130, 140 on the trail.
Just last week, a woman died hiking in the Grand Canyon. And it's not just the land heating up. No, this is a surf and turf problem. There's a marine heat wave in the waters off the Florida Keys. The temperature has jumped 10 degrees higher than normal, hitting 97 degrees.
Massive numbers of animals are moving from where they used to be to a different climate so that they can be in the temperature that they like.
If the water stays this hot, it'll kill the coral. The hot water also spilling over, helping to make it the hottest year on record in Florida. Texans can tell Floridians a thing or two about records. They keep setting and breaking power usage records, and likely will again over the next few days.
All across the Lone Star State, Texans are cranking up the AC. I'm at a power station here. On Wednesday, they set an all-time power usage record. Well, they broke that on Thursday, and we're being told they're likely going to break that again today.
All right, Scotty, thank you for that report. Well, there are people who dread this heat wave. A San Diego business owner is saying bring it on. He told Neil Watson with Scripps News San Diego that he welcomes the heat since summer began with much cooler weather.
Here in Mission Beach, you can see it is pretty packed, and it's been like this the entire day. Now, this is the type of weather that businesses like this bike rental shop and restaurants thrive off of. As the heat bears down on San Diego County, visitors and locals are hitting the beach. Unlike the mountains and deserts, the coastal area is not currently under an excessive heat warning, and many people are taking advantage of that sunny and cool weather to catch a wave or lounge in the sand. Mike Sultan, who owns the Kojak's restaurant and an ice cream shop near the beach, says he's seen a boost in business over the past several days after a slow start to the year due to gloomy weather. He says he's glad to see business start to pick up.
It was kind of disappointed with because we wait all winter for spring break, and it wasn't that good with the weather. But right now, thank God we're doing better. Things turn around, and a lot of people, good, you know, it's hot out there, and that's what we want on the beach.
Sultan says they've stocked up on extra food and other products in anticipation of a busy weekend.
In Washington, the House has passed the defense spending bill. Republicans pushing through some controversial amendments, including prohibiting abortion service reimbursement for the military. And that could cause members from the Democratic side to walk away, putting passage of this bill in jeopardy for the first time since 1961. This bill now heads to the Democratic-controlled Senate. National political correspondent Kevin Sriley is live for us in Washington right now with the very latest on this. So, Kevin, walk us through exactly what happened here in the House this morning.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy able to muster the votes to advance this piece of legislation, albeit narrowly. The House passing this bill earlier today by a margin of 219 to 210, just squeaking through in terms of the final vote tally. And that's because every Democrat opposed. They feel that the amendments that Republicans put forth yesterday are far too conservative and dragged this bill way to the right. Let's pull up some of those amendments that were tacked on. It includes defunding aid to Ukraine. It's notable that this happened at a time in which President Biden was meeting with NATO officials touting the U.S. backing of the Ukraine against Russia's egregious war with Ukraine. Separately from that, it would strike down military abortion policy, prevent transgender health care coverage, and prohibit funds for diversity and inclusion efforts. As a result of that, Democrats say this is dead on arrival, Veronica, in the Senate.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you said it cleared the House 219 to 210, but you do think that it's going to be dead on arrival in the Senate. So you're saying that it will not pass this bill?
Well, what's going to have to happen is it's dust off your Schoolhouse Rock era, because you have to have the Senate put forth a bill and be able to pass a Defense Authorization Act, their own separate version. And then they're going to have to reconcile the two paths and reconcile the piece of legislation together. They're going to have to form a reconciliation committee in order to get this on President Biden's desk. But this is important in terms of just how the Supreme Court cases in the last several months, dating back from the overturning of Roe v. Wade to affirmative action, as well as transgender issues. All of this is now reverberating into the halls of Congress, whether it's the amendments that Republicans tacked on in the House or Senator Tuberville, who is saying that he's blocking military appointees. And they're reverberating and echoing at the highest levels and relating directly to national security. Veronica?
Well, Kevin, Congress is breaking for August recess soon. Are they going to get this done on time?
They're going to have to. And that's what Leader Chuck Schumer, the top Democrat in the Senate, is hoping for, especially at a time, again, in which there's just so much geopolitical risk around the world and President Biden returning from those important NATO meetings.
All right, Kevin's really live for us there in Washington. Kevin, always appreciate the update. Thank you. So it might be a while before your favorite shows return in the fall. And that's because tens of thousands of actors have moved from the set to the picket line. As soon as that announcement to strike was made, the cast of the much-hyped movie Oppenheimer walked out of the film's UK screening yesterday. Our Alexa Lianco is in Atlanta, which is a major TV and movie filming location. She has the details for us.
From Atlanta to New York and Hollywood, actors from the big and small screens are coming to a picket line near you.
But we had no choice. We are the victims here.
SAG-AFTRA, the union representing roughly 160,000 actors, performers, and media professionals, unanimously voted to strike Thursday, joining their fellow TV and movie writers in a fight for better working conditions. The main issue at hand? Money.
We are not being paid fairly. We are not being paid a fair share of the pie for what we are contributing to these industries.
Actors are demanding more residuals from streaming services like Netflix and Disney Plus, as well as safeguards against artificial intelligence replicating their work without compensation. LA Times media reporter Steve Battaglio told Scripps News Thursday the strike marks a sign of the times, considering when actors last went on strike in 1980, they were fighting then over residuals from home videos.
Anytime a new technology comes along and money is being made in a different way, there's going to be a dispute.
But writers and actors haven't gone on strike at the same time since 1960, when Ronald Reagan was still a working actor. At a press conference Thursday, actor and SAG-AFTRA president Fran Drescher called out Hollywood executives for raking in money amid layoffs.
How they plead poverty, that they're losing money left and right when giving hundreds of millions of dollars to their CEOs. It is disgusting.
Residual income for streaming content helps actors stay afloat as they await their next job, with most actors working on a project-to-project basis. ZipRecruiter estimates the average actor, not A-listers, makes anywhere from $38,000 to $68,000 per year, while TV and movie executives make on average $164,000 per year. But the glaring pay gap can be 4 to 5 times higher for big studio executives. In a statement Thursday, the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers, which bargains on behalf of studios, said a strike would just worsen the, quote, financial hardship for thousands who depend on the industry for their livelihoods. The strike begins Friday, with actors hitting the picket lines in the early morning. This is expected to bring most major studio productions to a grinding halt, with no telling when they'll be back in action. Alexa Liacco, Scripps News, Atlanta.
And you can find deeper dives on all of these stories and a whole lot more online right now. Check us out at scripsnews.com. Also, we're on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, health experts share the potential risks and benefits of the first FDA-approved over-the-counter birth control pill. Also, a business owner reveals the secret recipe to keeping a restaurant clean with limited staff. And we would like to hear from you. You can give us a call on our Scripps News viewer hotline toll free. That number is 1-833-4-SCRIPPS. Feel free to share your comments and your story ideas.
I've been putting off getting life insurance, and I'm not getting any younger.
Have you been thinking about getting a life insurance plan but just keep putting it off? Was that a yes? Then this message is for you. I'm David Denowitz, and I know the importance of life insurance. And that's why I'm here to tell you it's not too late to get the coverage you need.
If you're between the ages of 45 and 85, you can get a policy with a benefit of up to $25,000 and rates available at $5 a week. The phone lines are now open. Just call 800-354-6059.
And your acceptance is guaranteed.
I have a pre-existing medical condition. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes.
Can I get accepted without a medical exam?
Yes. If you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down for this guaranteed acceptance life insurance regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions. And rates start at just $5 a week. Remember, if you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down regardless of your health. Nothing's more important than family. So call now, pick up the phone, and get guaranteed acceptance life insurance today.
Just call 800-354-6059.
I'm 72 and on a fixed income. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes, your acceptance is guaranteed, and your rate can never go up for any reason. You can't be turned down regardless of your health. There's just one simple question. Are you between 45 and 85? If you answered yes, don't wait another minute. Call now.
The call is absolutely free, and there is no obligation to enroll. Just call 800-354-6059. That's 800-354-6059. If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Call 800-719-8907.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Call 800-719-8907. That's 800-719-8907.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. Several medical groups applaud the FDA's approval of an over-the-counter birth control pill. It's called O-Pill, and it's expected to hit the shelves early next year. Stephanie Suskind with Scripps News West Palm Beach takes a closer look at the impact of this historic move.
I'm paying everything out of pocket, so it's kind of crazy coming in for the appointment, but that's really convenient for a lot of women.
Pamela Oliveira says she would be very interested in purchasing a birth control pill over the counter, but she has one big question.
Do you know how much on average it would cost?
That is still unknown. But what we do know, the O-pill will be sold over the counter, removing barriers for women who don't have insurance or access to a doctor. Michelle Casada is now the Vice President of Communications for Planned Parenthood of Southeast and North Florida. She calls this a historic moment for health equity.
We know that half of all pregnancies are unintended, and the main barrier to contraception use is access to healthcare, which is making an appointment with a doctor and then getting a prescription for birth control.
The O-pill is known as the mini pill, and it only contains progestin. Doctors caution this pill may not be right for everyone, and it's important to know your medical history, possible side effects, and how to take it properly.
The progestin-only based pills typically have a lower effectiveness than other methods. Most methods have a 99% effectiveness where less than one person will get pregnant each year. Progestin-only pills actually have an effectiveness level of 93%. So it is very important to make sure that you take your pills on time.
Pharmacist Hayden Collier at Progress Pharmacy also says he's glad to see the option become available, but knows it's not a one-size-fits-all.
So there'll have to be great education on someone who is getting it, the pharmacist, make sure that they ask questions, what to expect, and if they are having these side effects, how they can either manage them or how they may need to switch to, see a doctor to switch to something different.
Stephanie Suskind, Scripps News.
The World Health Organization's Cancer Agency is now classifying aspartame as a possible cause of cancer. The artificial sweetener is widely used in diet soda and in food. Other health groups still consider the sugar substitute as safe, but generally, scientists are advising people to consume products that contain aspartame at a moderate level. Aspartame joins a list of more than 300 other possible cancer-causing agents, including aloe vera extract and carpentry work. Well, restaurants across the country are still struggling to fill open positions right now. The lack of staff is making it harder for managers to maintain cleanliness, and it's been forcing some restaurants to cut back on services. Tanisha Cordell with Scripps News Cleveland spoke with an owner who's maneuvering through all of these obstacles.
All of our people are ServSafe certified.
Behind their popular fried chicken meals.
Hot bird. Everybody loves our biscuits.
And those buttery biscuits.
They're hot.
Is a ship ran tight.
Clean as you go, kind of deal.
When it comes to prep.
You have a shift list that every shift, this is what I have to clean. And then we have like a deep cleaning list. So every day of the week, you attack one piece of equipment.
Simply put, Mr. Chicken owner Mike Simmons says staff are trained to minimize the mess, and even more now, post-COVID.
People were scrutinizing, so you had to be that much cleaner.
The restaurant design across the family-owned location certainly helps. From fiberglass walls, stainless steel appliances, and walls sitting 6 inches off the ground, Mike says his spots are easy to keep clean when they're properly staffed. He says keeping the lobby and bathrooms clean is sometimes a challenge in the evenings, forcing service cuts.
When the person walks in the door, they expect a clean restaurant. So if you can't give them that, you need to close it.
According to the Cuyahoga County Board of Health, 5 things are key for healthy eats and a passing inspection. 1, having an approved food source. 2, thorough food cooking. 3, proper food storage and temperature. 4, clean and sanitary facilities. And 5, good personal hygiene and health among staff.
Every sanitarian who's inspecting at least once or twice a week, they're hitting a place that has some critical violations.
Suzanne Rush, the board's food protection unit manager, says a good 95% of Cuyahoga County operators, like Mike, are keeping up with department standards. But her team is giving out more warnings, resources, and, well, grace to help struggling businesses stay afloat.
They're trying to be creative and do more with less. They're smart people, and we trust the folks that make our food.
I'm Tanisha Cordell for Scripps News.
Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, an ambitious plan to send private astronauts into space every month is going to launch soon. Well, the very latest news on Virgin Galactic straight ahead. And A Star is Born is much more than just a movie. How the James Webb Space Telescope has given us an amazing view of the universe. We'll be right back.
If you, like many people, are covered by both Medicare and your state's Medicaid, here's something important to know. Now you could get even more health benefits than you already have. It's the United Healthcare Dual Complete Plan. To find out if you or someone you care about is eligible, it's easy. Call now to talk with us. We can explain it all and answer your questions. Medicaid gives you benefits, and Medicare gives you some too. But a dual complete plan can add even more benefits and features compared to original Medicare. You'll have lots of doctors and hospitals to choose from. $0 copays on all covered prescriptions, including brand names. And depending on where you live, you could enjoy other benefits too, like more dental care and rides to and from your doctor or pharmacy. Most plans even give you up to $300 a month to help pay for covered over-the-counter products, groceries, and new this year, utility bills. And best of all, with this plan, there's no extra cost to you. Remember, if you have Medicare and Medicaid, chances are you could get a dual complete plan. So call now to talk with us. Our agents are available to help. We know healthcare can be confusing. United Healthcare can straighten things out. And with over 40 years of experience, you can count on us to be there for you. With a dual complete plan, you could have a wide choice of doctors to choose from. $0 copays on all covered prescriptions, help paying for covered over-the-counter products, groceries, and utility bills. More dental coverage too, all at no extra cost. If you have both Medicare and Medicaid, you may be eligible for dual complete. So call the number on your screen now to see if you're eligible or to enroll. There's more for you with the United Healthcare Dual Complete Plan.
That's $78.29.
Oh, I've only got $50. Take out the cheese puffs and the broccoli. I mean, who likes broccoli?
I don't. Only $22.87 to go.
It would be faster with the Empower app. Empower Cash Advance gives you up to $250 instantly. No late fees, interest, or credit checks.
I've got money. Keep the cheese puffs, but leave out the broccoli.
Get Empower Cash Advance up to $250 instantly. Download the Empower app today.
There's a better way to begin your mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Rush. Thanks so much for being with us.
Context and conversation.
There's a new study that might make you feel a little bit better. Okay. So listen to this.
On the stories that will shape each day.
Here with us now is meteorologist Scott Withers. You got just wave after wave after wave.
So you can get on with yours.
Make sure you stay with us as we monitor this developing story.
Morning Rush, weekday mornings starting at 7, 6 Central, only on Scripps News.
Well, India is hoping the second try is going to be the charm. After a successful launch today, it hopes to land on the moon a week from Sunday. A previous effort back in 2019 failed. And if the mission follows its plan, India will become the first country to land on the unexplored lunar South Pole. Japan, in the meantime, was not as successful with its launch. The Japanese Space Agency built rocket exploded during a test about a minute after it started. You could see the flames there and a whole lot of smoke, but don't worry, there are no reports of any injuries. The cause of the explosion is still under investigation right now. And the window for Virgin Galactic's next flight to the edge of space begins on August 10th. It's going to include 3 private passengers who paid a lot of money to briefly experience weightlessness and then take in those views. Now the flight is going to take off in southern New Mexico. It's going to take about an hour to reach the height where that plane is released, and then it will glide back down to Earth after touching the edge of space. Pretty cool. So 1 year ago, NASA launched the James Webb Space Telescope. 1 year later, it's stunned by the images coming back, and even in galaxies far, far away. National correspondent Stephen Graddick has details and tells us what's more.
A birth in the cosmos, captured by cameras orbiting the sun, trillions upon trillions of miles away from home.
Right now, the gas and the dust in that big cloud is condensing and falling in on itself to form new stars.
390 light years from Earth, a star is born, shooting chaotic jets of light through the Ro-Ophiuchi cloud complex.
We believe that the processes going on in that cloud complex are the same processes that gave birth to our sun about 4.5 billion years ago.
President Joe Biden unveiled the first images from NASA's $10 billion James Webb Telescope 1 year ago. Since then, NASA has offered a glimpse back in time in breathtaking detail, from rare images of a dying star to distant supermassive black holes, and even photographs of some of the earliest galaxies in the universe. Like these three right here, which NASA believes existed near the dawn of time, about 13 billion years ago, when the universe was only 5% of its current age. The photo released Tuesday marked the first time researchers have been able to clearly see the cloud complex without other stars blocking the way. Scientists counted 50 brand new glittering stars in the image, some of which NASA called planetary systems in the making. NASA Mission Systems engineer Mike Menzel says the photos are proof that galaxies are evolving more quickly than scientists thought and could be the key to solving life's biggest mysteries.
Looking at exoplanets, looking at the chemistry and the process of that chemistry is a stepping stone to answering the question, how common is life?
Menzel adds the answer is far down the road, but in the years ahead, scientists are pointing the Webb at an intriguing solar system that could support life.
There is a system called the TRAPPIST system that has multiple planets around it, some of them in what we might term the habitable zone, a place, a region around their star where the temperatures might be right for liquid water and to have conditions similar to the Earth.
The possible discoveries are overwhelmingly endless, but pixel by pixel, Webb is piecing together clues about our own existence.
I think whatever's out there in the deep universe, James Webb's going to see it.
Helping us find the answers to mankind's most profound question, are we alone? Stephen Graddick, Scripps News.
Wow, pretty cool. All right, check out this next story. Things getting a little awkward when a police officer in Georgia realizes that the guy he's pulling over for speeding is the county's chief deputy.
Hello? Guess who I just pulled over? Who? Yarborough. Who? Yarborough. Really? Yeah, the chief deputy driving a Dodge Charger, a souped-up Dodge Charger belongs to the sheriff's office. I just clocked this son at 96 in a 35. Really?
Wow, 96 and a 35, wow. The Henry County Sheriff suspended his chief deputy for 40 hours and then docked his pay due to the severity of the issue. His face said it all. I'm Veronica Cruz. Thank you so much for your time today. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. Don't forget, you can always check us out on scripsnews.com. We'll be right back.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters? Save that time with LeafGuard's maintenance-free system. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS. Mesh filters sit on top of your gutters, building up debris and eventually clogging. Then they need to be cleaned too. Honestly, your home should have been built with LeafGuard gutters. LeafGuard's wraparound hood deflects debris and keeps water away from your home. The one-piece seamless system is strong, 20% thicker than average and built to last. Plus, LeafGuard is guaranteed to never clog for as long as you own your home. Right now, get a complete LeafGuard system for only $99 down, $99 a month, and $99 installation. You'll also receive a $100 Visa gift card with a free gutter inspection and in-home estimate. Damage from clogged gutters can cost you thousands. Never worry about clogged gutters again. Don't wait, you've still got time. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS today. That's 1-833-2-GUTTERS.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. Breaking news for anyone who spent time at Camp Lejeune before 1988. President Biden has signed the PACT Act. This means you may be entitled to significant compensation from the federal government. If you or a family member spent time at Camp Lejeune, you consumed toxic water known to cause serious health issues, injuries, and even death. A special hotline has been established. Call now for a free case evaluation.
Just call 800-793-0837 now.
Even if you've been turned down in the past, this new legislation allows you to refile a claim. This will not affect your eligibility for VA disability benefits. These are benefits you earned and deserve. We encourage anyone who spent time at Camp Lejeune to file a claim. Call now to see if you or loved ones qualify for significant compensation from the federal government. Don't wait. Just call 800-793-0837 now. That's 800-793-0837.
Welcome to Scripps News Live. Great to see you on this Friday. TGIF, you made it. I'm Veronica Cruz. Let's get you caught up right now on the day's top stories. So Vermont is preparing for more rain to hit over the weekend. After 2 days of storms earlier this week dumped 2 months worth of rain. Governor Phil Scott has been urging people to stay away from the floodwaters. More than 800,000 borrowers are about to have their student debt reduced. A new plan from the Biden administration is designed to lower monthly bills and reduce payments over a lifetime. It's estimated that SAVE, which stands for Saving on a Valuable Education, will clear $39 billion in student debt. Some people could see monthly bills cut in half and remaining debt canceled after making at least 10 years of payments. Russian President Vladimir Putin is saying that he made an offer to mercenaries of the Wagner Group to stay together after their brief rebellion last month. Putin says Yevgeny Prigozhin would have remained their commander. The president told a Russian newspaper it was Prigozhin who rejected this idea. Putin says he praised the Wagner Group's service in Ukraine while denouncing their mutiny. Ukrainian forces have started receiving those controversial cluster bombs from the United States. The Pentagon's decision to share the weapons with Ukraine generated some pushback in Washington and from leaders around the world. Visual Investigations correspondent Jake Godin has more on what's become the latest sticking point in the political back and forth over how to help Ukraine fend off Russia.
Ні, ми тільки отримали, ми ще поки не використовуємо, але воно змінити може кардинально.
Optimism and excitement from a Ukrainian general as cluster munitions from the U.S. arrive in Kyiv. The transfer comes less than a week after the Biden administration announced it would be sending the controversial weapons to Ukraine. The munitions are part of an $800 million military aid package meant to help Ukrainian troops push back Russian forces entrenched on the front lines.
We will not leave Ukraine defenseless at any point in this conflict, period.
Part of the controversy around cluster munitions stems from the way they spread their damage. They're designed to take out tanks, equipment, and troops, all at the same time. When launched, the cluster munition opens midair and releases dozens of bomblets or submunitions across a wide area. These bomblets then explode either close to or on the ground. This is where the impact of cluster munitions can reach beyond their intended target, though. Cluster munitions have a notoriously high dud rate, meaning many of those smaller bomblets land on the ground without actually exploding. That poses a dangerous risk to civilians, especially children, who in some cases in countries like Afghanistan or Syria come across the submunitions years later and accidentally set them off. That's why more than 100 nations have signed on to a treaty banning the manufacture, use, stockpile, or transfer of cluster munitions. But the U.S., Russia, and Ukraine aren't parties to that treaty. There's evidence both Ukraine and Russia have already used cluster munitions during the ongoing war, though it's clear that the vast majority of those documented uses have come from Russia. Ukraine's government has assured the U.S. it won't use the new munitions in areas populated by civilians. Ukrainian Brigadier General Alexander Tarnovsky told CNN senior leadership will decide where the munitions will be used, noting, quote, "This is a very powerful weapon." Ukraine also says they'll keep track of where they're deployed to make future demining efforts easier.
These sticking out of the ground all over farm fields it's just normal here.
Open source evidence sheds some light on the effects cluster munitions have already had in Ukraine, primarily from Russian use. These older Soviet-designed munitions have an astonishingly high dud rate, between 30 and 40%. Those unexploded bomblets litter farmland and civilian areas where they pose a big risk long after they are deployed. The Defense Department says the munitions coming from the U.S. should have a much lower dud rate, less than 2.35%. But there's evidence that failure rate could be as high as 14% with some of the munitions heading to Ukraine, specifically the M864 artillery shell, which contains 72 submunitions. An Army study from 2000 found that those submunitions had a dud rate closer to 14%. Jake Godin, Scripps News, Washington.
President Biden says he's open to a possible prisoner exchange involving Wall Street reporter Evan Gershkovich. The Kremlin suggested it was a possibility earlier this month. Gershkovich has spent more than 100 days in a Russian prison. He's accused of espionage. The Kremlin says any negotiations would need to take place out of the public eye. Last week, White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan confirmed the two countries have been talking. Former President Donald Trump has been indicted on 2 cases already, and there's a possibility of more to come. His legal team has already begun efforts to delay any trials. Earlier this week, Trump attorneys asked for an indefinite delay in his federal classified documents trial. Prosecutor Jack Smith had proposed a trial date of December 11th, and now both sides are awaiting a decision from U.S. District Judge Eileen Cannon. National political correspondent Avijoy Burnett joins us now live from Washington. And Avijoy, I know that you've been following this case now for weeks. What is the special counsel saying about when this trial date should be set?
Hi, Veronica. Well, the special counsel Jack Smith is saying that this trial date should be set right now and that there is no basis in the law to delay this for about 15 months or so to beyond next year's general election. Remember that on Monday, former President Donald Trump and his co-defendant Walt Nauta, they said that they needed additional time in order to review tens of thousands of documents. There are about 800,000 documents, records, emails that they will have to go through. But the special counsel in their response yesterday said even though there are 800,000 records, there are only about 4,500 key records that really need to be reviewed here. I must note that we spoke with a former federal prosecutor who said any good defense attorney would have argued for that. But then there's also the issue of having an impartial jury. The Trump and Nauta team, they're saying they're concerned that they won't be able to find an impartial jury in such a high-profile case. Well, the special counsel, he's also saying that, look, the American justice system allows for this to be the case where they're able to weed people out who may not be impartial in a process like this. And then perhaps one of the things that is most eye-opening for many people who read their reasoning to delay this is that the former president, he's running for president once again, and he's saying he won't have enough time because he's just traveling too much. But the special counsel, he was especially stinging on that. He said there's so many people who have really demanding jobs, and that does not stop them from going through the legal process if that is where they are. So I want to read a portion of that for you. The special counsel Jack Smith said many indicted defendants have demanding jobs that require a considerable amount of their time and energy or a significant amount of travel. The Speedy Trial Act contemplates no such factor as a basis for a continuance. So that was a portion of what was said yesterday. Remember, the Trump and Nauta team, they're really asking for the possibility of this being pushed back to beyond next year's election cycle. We spoke with a former federal prosecutor who at one point worked in the same building as a special counsel. And in his words, he said that request is ridiculous.
I think that's ridiculous. And that's because the whole purpose of a trial and this kind of indictment is to insulate it from politics. And so the fact that you would wait for a political event to happen when he may not even be the nominee is sort of silly. You can't let your trial date be set as on this future event that may never happen at all.
So to backtrack a little bit for you, the trial date has been set for the week of August 14th by the judge down in the Southern District. The United States here, the government in this case, they're requesting that a delay be pushed back until around mid-December. And then you have the Trump team, they're saying possibly even further than that. This ultimate decision will be up to the judge. We do not know when she will actually make that decision. What we do know, Veronica, is that next week, Tuesday, there will be a hearing where all of the parties involved will determine how they will handle the classified documents in this case.
Yeah, and this isn't the only case that Trump is dealing with right now. So there are a couple other legal entanglements that he's got to get through as well. Avijoy Burnett reporting from Washington. Avijoy, thank you so much. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, a pastor gives teens a reality check about the impacts of gun violence.
It's gotten worse, and it seemed like we're desensitized by it. And to hear a mother cry is just the worst feeling in the world.
Coming up after a quick break, his bold approach to engaging in life-saving conversations.
Are you tired of that old worn-out bath or shower? Now you can have a new one installed in just one day with a new limited-time offer from Jacuzzi Bath Remodel.
We're waiving all installation costs with no interest and no payments for 1 year.
Hi, I'm Art Edmonds. Jacuzzi has been making water feel great for over 65 years. And now you can get a gorgeous custom bath remodel at a price you can afford. And the best part is, they'll install it in as little as 1 day with no stress and no mess.
I've been trying to get him to remodel that bath for years. I called and they did in just 1 day.
And at a price we could afford.
Every time I stepped over my old tub, I worried I might fall. I don't have those fears anymore.
With Jacuzzi, you can get a safer, easy entry shower with features like functional grab bars and a custom seat to keep you feeling comfortable and independent at home. And with no interest and no payments for a year, it's a bathroom remodel you can afford.
Oh my God, I love it!
It's so pretty and new, and the tub is so deep, and I can't wait to just go climb in it and just lay there.
Our designers are standing by to guide you step by step. So call now to get your 1-day installation and find out how you can get luxurious upgrades and a lifetime warranty from a brand you know you can trust.
It was done in the same day. We did not have to wait.
It's absolutely perfect. It's exactly what I was dreaming of.
Jacuzzi Bath Remodel did not disappoint.
Your new jacuzzi, bath, or shower is waiting. Now is the best time to call and take advantage of one of Jacuzzi's best offers ever.
We're waiving all installation costs with no interest and no payments for 1 year.
Call or go online to jacuzzibathremodel.com today to take advantage of this limited time offer. Call 800-990-6587. That's 800-990-6587. Call now.
How does Klein & Spector get among the most big verdicts and settlements of any law firm in the country? Because Klein & Spector is an award-winning team with 5 doctor lawyers, the most of any firm in the United States. And that's why the New York Times calls Klein & Spector a powerhouse law firm. So if a defective product, motor vehicle accident, or medical malpractice caused a catastrophic injury, call Klein & Spector.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
Sunday nights on In Real Life, Scripps News journalists take you off the grid.
We were just a bunch of kids with a camera.
And to the heart of the story. In Real Life, Sunday at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. So analysts say 2023 is on track to becoming the deadliest year since 2006. According to a database maintained by the Associated Press, USA Today, and Northeastern University, the nation saw 28 mass killings, nearly half involving guns, from January to June. And that breaks the previous record of 27 set in the second half of last year. Mass killings involve 4 or more victims being killed at roughly the same time and location. That database includes all intentional killings, from shootings to strangulations. In Wisconsin, an unusual message about death that could save lives. A funeral home has created an eye-opening experience to help curb gun violence. Sarah McGrew with Scripps News Milwaukee spoke with a pastor who's been encouraging young people to make the right decisions.
Milwaukee teens were invited to this funeral home today to get a look at a different side of the impacts of violence and to get a glimpse into what is an all too common reality in our community.
This funeral for a 17-year-old isn't real.
Raise your hand if you know somebody under the age of 21 who lost their life to violence.
But it reflects a reality for many.
Well, I've been to a lot of funerals, so...
What Aaron Smith and other students didn't expect was to see their own reflection in the coffin.
It hurt because, I picture, some of my family members in there that I seen and that I'm used to. I wanted to cry.
Troy Robertson has been the funeral director at Northwest Funeral Chapel for over 2 decades. It's the preventable deaths of children that stick with him the most.
And to hear a mother cry is just the worst feeling in the world.
He, like many of us, has felt defeated by a rise in gun violence and reckless driving, claiming the lives of kids in our community.
It's gotten worse, and it seemed like we're desensitized by it, right? It seemed like it's expected. And we're starting to see some of the same kids come through the door because they knew people. And they have a look on their face. Am I next? Will I be next? Will I be here again? Or will that be me in the casket? It's horrible.
So he invited them to the funeral home to see what he sees.
Well, we don't want your business. We don't want to bury a young person.
A message Aaron says he'll share with his own friends.
Hang with the right people. You don't gotta be cool to fit in. Like, just be who you are.
It's a harsh lesson for a harsh reality.
That was Sarah McGrew reporting for us from Milwaukee. We'll be right back.
I've been putting off getting life insurance, and I'm not getting any younger.
Have you been thinking about getting a life insurance plan but just keep putting it off? Was that a yes? Then this message is for you. I'm David Denowitz, and I know the importance of life insurance. And that's why I'm here to tell you it's not too late to get the coverage you need.
If you're between the ages of 45 and 85, you can get a policy with a benefit of up to $25,000 and rates available at $5 a week. The phone lines are now open. Just call 800-354-6059.
And your acceptance is guaranteed.
I have a pre-existing medical condition. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes.
Can I get accepted without a medical exam?
Yes. If you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down for this guaranteed acceptance life insurance regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions, and rates start at just $5 a week. Remember, if you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down regardless of your health. Nothing's more important than family. So call now, pick up the phone, and get guaranteed acceptance life insurance today.
Just call 800-354-6059.
I'm 72 and on a fixed income. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes, your acceptance is guaranteed, and your rate can never go up for any reason. You can't be turned down regardless of your health. There's just one simple question. Are you between 45 and 85? If you answered yes, don't wait another minute. Call now.
The call is absolutely free, and there is no obligation to enroll. Just call 800-354-6059. That's 800-354-6059.
It's Christmas all July at Balsam Hill. It's never too early to save, so why wait? Get amazing deals now on our wide variety of exclusive designs. Find the perfect tree at up to 50% off at balsamhill.com.
How can a photo become a vibrant part of your home? When you go to tryfracture.com and print your images directly on glass. Get beautiful depth and clarity on a sleek frameless print that's easy to hang and looks incredible in any space. Go to tryfracture.com now to save 20% on glass prints.
Hey folks, the league is in absolute chaos. Come down to some rookie taking free throw. Got the young guys going on. The Athletic. Subscribe today.
The why is where curiosity is intentional. Because when you ask the why behind the news, the world opens up before your eyes. The Why, Saturday nights at 8, 7 Central, only on Scripps News.
Northwestern University has fired a second coach this week, baseball coach Jim Foster. The school launched an investigation after reports of Foster being verbally abusive and bullying people. Several of his assistant coaches quit back in February. Foster's dismissal comes 3 days after football coach Pat Fitzgerald was fired after 11 current and former players complained of hazing. Fitzgerald denied knowing anything about it. Several major U.S. cities right now struggling to deal with an influx of migrants, and it's been creating some unique challenges in communities where the different cultures sometimes clash. But in Chicago, sports are helping to bridge that gap. National correspondent Ben Chamiso has the details.
A game of baseball in a park on the south side of Chicago. This may look pretty ordinary, but for the players, it is an extraordinary and much needed morale boost. Temporarily sheltering in a shuttered school next to the park, these newly arrived migrants get to do something they love for one afternoon every Sunday.
Tengo calcetines y todo aquí.
It's all thanks to local soccer coach Otto Rodriguez and his childhood friend John Shankyo.
The experience is elevated so that there's some respect and some dignity to these folks that in so many cases have been stripped of that dignity.
When the city opened the shelter earlier this year, Shankyo, who lives next door, thought it would be great to help his new neighbors with ways to get some fresh air and exercise. So he contacted a friend who is the perfect fit as the Chicago director of a national soccer nonprofit.
We've canceled once in the last couple of months for like just absolutely torrential downpour, but for the most part we play.
Every Sunday, the two friends and their interns show up at the park armed with donated clothes and shoes. At first, they only organized soccer, but the asylum seekers, who are mostly from Venezuela, quickly explained they also love baseball. So the two friends brought in a neighbor who is a baseball coach and owns a bunch of equipment.
Everybody deserves a chance to do something. Everybody deserves a better life for themselves.
For 22-year-old Venezuelan migrant Alejandro Bella, the Sunday sports offer a huge emotional release.
La verdad sí, el deporte es lo único que me ha llamado la atención, el deporte. Es como sentirse en su propio país, pero estando en otro, pues.
One of 10 sites housing migrants across Chicago, the former school is currently home to roughly 600 asylum seekers. When it opened, there was serious pushback from some residents who felt their under-resourced community was not a good fit. Today, some are still unhappy.
No, they stay out there all night making noise and everything, and they be hanging out in front of the senior citizen building, which is right up there.
Others, like the coaches, stress that the vast majority of the newcomers don't bother anyone. Still recognizing that there is some tension, the two friends hope to make things better by encouraging more migrants and more residents to come out and play together.
At least to begin some conversation between the two sides. And even if there is a language barrier, like Otto likes to say, like, the ball doesn't have a language, right?
Ben Chamiso, Scripps News, Chicago.
A group of 6 guys scattered across the Midwest have turned a hobby into a lifestyle. Their fantasy baseball league has been active for 43 straight seasons now. Max Goldwasser with Scripps News Grand Rapids says the fantasy part goes beyond what happens on the diamond.
You count on 3 things, right? Death, taxes, Mr. Baseball.
Some people have traditions. How do the wives feel about this?
Well, they're happy.
These 6 started an institution.
Baseball was the vehicle, but I think the friendship was the glue. That's how I would put it.
America's pastime has inspired this modern legend, the Mr. Baseball Fantasy League.
And I've been as high as 2nd this year.
That was the second day of the season.
That friendly fire has been fueled for 43 consecutive seasons now, making this one of the longest running fantasy leagues ever.
You know, when we first started, the 5 of us were in our younger 20s, and then Rick was there, and he's smoking a pipe the first year.
I knew you were going to bring that up.
George Brett, 10 cents, $5. Puff, puff, puff. Holy Christ. Puff, puff, puff. Oh, my God, you know, it seemed like he was 100, and here we are, and now he is, you know. It's like, God, how did we get here?
Back in 1981, Rick Dominy came across an article that outlined this brand new idea at the time. You could compete against others by managing a make-believe baseball team based on real Major League athletes. Their performance on the field would translate to your team's success.
Said, hey, this might be a good game to play. Let's give it a try.
Rick, Tim Shaw, and Dennis Fox were all a part of that founding group. This new league, of course, needed a name. So they landed on Mr. Baseball.
We weren't particularly articulate. We figured that the winner, the first year we decided, would be Mr. Baseball, and the loser was Mrs. Baseball.
Wasn't early on, Mrs. Baseball had to wear a bra
During
the
the
draft.
draft,
Yes,
yeah.
for a period of time, and that, I think, as we progressed, we
We
out
all
of
got
that.
too fat and bra didn't fit anymore.
And keep in mind, this was well before modern technology, so everything, literally everything, was done by hand.
God awful. It was.
It was a nightmare. 6 or 7 hours to do a draft.
To do it.
Or first year was even longer.
Right.
And if they thought that was a pain, tracking and mailing stats during the season, that was even worse.
So once a month we'd get a packet. It was this thick full of paper from whoever did the stats that month.
And the truth is, if we knew then what we knew now, I don't know that we would have done it, but we didn't know any different. So it was just the way it was.
And just like the sport it simulated, Mr. Baseball became a spring staple. Season after season, this league would have a draft, and every member would be in attendance.
You know, when we first started out, most of us were single, and so you were required to tell your future bride that this is Mr. Baseball weekend and we can get married, but I will not be around. And then we screwed it up. We had some kids' birthdays right in that time period, and we had to say, sorry, Dad can't be there because he's going away.
Life tried its best to get in the way. Divorces, deaths, moves, members dropping in and out. And about 20 years ago, they briefly decided to break this off.
And Dennis was the one that kind of saved it. He said, you know, he got on the phone with us and he said, I'm going to really miss Mr. Baseball. We can have it at my house. And that was really a pivot point, I think. And since then, there just hasn't been any issue. It's understood.
In fact, things have only gotten smoother, especially after 2003. Rick's son Mike, one of the league's newer faces then, helped them finally transition into the 21st century.
Just because I'm the youngest one in the group, a little more savvy on the computer, I was telling them, hey, we can do this on the computer, guys. Let's get you into Yahoo, was our platform, and we've been in it ever since.
The guys say that digital era difference became a huge blessing and a bit of a curse.
I won it my first year in it, and cut. So, and then I happened to win it again the second year. Cut!
I'm surprised you're still in the league, Mike, based on what I've heard.
I know, yeah.
Spawned by a craving for competition, now providing a lifelong community. Doug, Dennis, Mike, Rick, and Tim. 6 Midwest men keeping their friendship and the fight to be Mr. Baseball alive.
Forever.
Just do his part, I suspect.
Gotta love it. And that was Max Goldwasser reporting for us in Grand Rapids. Thank you so much for watching Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. Don't forget, you can always check us out on scripsnews.com. If you're staying with us right now, we have much more news headed your way on Scripps News Live, including a look at the success of the 988 Suicide and Crisis Hotline a year after it was introduced, what we've learned so far about mental health in America. We'll be right back.
Municipal bonds don't usually get the media coverage the stock market does. In fact, most people don't find them all that exciting. But if you're looking for the potential for consistent income that's federally tax-free, now is an excellent time to consider municipal bonds from Henyon & Walsh. If you have at least $10,000 to invest, call and talk with one of our bond specialists at 1-800-465-8465. We'll send you our exclusive bond guide, free, with details about how bonds can be an important part of your portfolio. Henyon & Walsh has specialized in fixed income and growth solutions for 30 years and offers high-quality municipal bonds from across the country. They provide the potential for regular income, are federally tax-free, and have historically low risk. Call today to request your free bond guide. 1-800-465-8465. That's 1-800-465-8465.
This is a paid advertisement for legal services. Breaking news for anyone who spent time at Camp Lejeune before 1988. President Biden has signed the PACT Act. This means you may be entitled to significant compensation from the federal government. If you or a family member spent time at Camp Lejeune, you consumed toxic water known to cause serious health issues, injuries, and even death. A special hotline has been established. Call now for a free case evaluation. Just call 800-793-0837 now. Even if you've been turned down in the past, this new legislation allows you to refile a claim. This will not affect your eligibility for VA disability benefits. These are benefits you earned and deserve. We encourage anyone who spent time at Camp Lejeune to file a claim. Call now to see if you or loved ones qualify for significant compensation from the federal government. Don't wait. Just call 800-793-0837 now. That's 800-793-0837.
Hey there, thank you so much for joining us on this Friday afternoon. Great to see you today. Congratulations, you made it to Friday. It is now 1 p.m. in the East and 10 a.m. out West. I'm Veronica Cruz. Welcome to Scripps News Live. We begin this hour with more than 100 million Americans under extreme heat alerts, with temperatures in several states breaking records this week. Meteorologist Scott Withers is in Dallas for us with more on the impact of these extreme temperatures.
Everything's bigger in Texas, including the heat wave. The Lone Star State sizzling again under triple-digit air temperatures, making it feel like it's almost 115 degrees.
People don't understand that the heat is very dangerous, especially if you haven't been hydrated and if you're not used to it.
More people die every year from the heat than from tornadoes and hurricanes combined. Almost a third of the country, stretching from the Mississippi River across the Southwest to the Pacific Ocean, sweating under heat advisories, watches, and those excessive heat warnings.
It's really sunny and hot.
It's more than hot, it's oppressive. Phoenix just can't cool down. It's been over 110 degrees every day this month and could shatter the record for consecutive days next week. While the locals are taking a plunge to cool down, officials are warning the tourists it's too hot to head out for a hike.
If it's 115 in the air, it's likely 130, 140 on the trail.
Just last week, a woman died hiking in the Grand Canyon. And it's not just the land heating up. No, this is a surf and turf problem. There's a marine heat wave in the waters off the Florida Keys. The temperature has jumped 10 degrees higher than normal, hitting 97 degrees.
Massive numbers of animals are moving from where they used to be to a different climate so that they can be in the temperature that they like.
If the water stays this hot, it'll kill the coral. The hot water also spilling over, helping to make it the hottest year on record in Florida. Texans can tell Floridians a thing or two about records. They keep setting and breaking power usage records, and likely will again over the next few days.
All across the Lone Star State, Texans are cranking up the AC. I'm at a power station here. On Wednesday, they set an all-time power usage record. Well, they broke that on Thursday, and we're being told they're likely going to break that again today.
And that was Scotty Withers there reporting for us. The heat creates less than letter-perfect conditions for postal carriers in the meantime. Matt Cesney with Scripps News West Palm Beach says there are suggestions, though, to keep them cooler.
We all know the postal motto, neither snow, rain, heat, or gloom of night can stop the carriers from their rounds. But heat indexes well over 100 for so many consecutive days are taking a toll.
We've been struggling, sweat, drink of water, trying to stay cool, but it's a struggle every day.
This postal worker who didn't want to reveal his identity talked about what it's like working in the heat and driving around with no AC.
It's 98 degrees. Heat index about 115. Add another 10 for the inside of the truck. 125 degrees.
And you're spending how long in that truck?
A good 6 hours.
In Texas last month, a postal carrier died while on the job when the heat index was soaring. The death has prompted this letter from some members of Congress to the Postmaster General, saying they have deep concerns over the working conditions and labor policies of the Postal Service.
We've been pushing to get earlier start times since the carrier died in Texas.
Jeffrey Wagner is the president of the Postal Carriers Union, representing 1,500 carriers from Sebastian to West Palm Beach, and says so far the only change has been worse.
They're pushing our times later. They recently changed our start time starting this Saturday to 9 o'clock from 8 o'clock in some offices, and we want the push to get them back to 7:30. We believe it would be safer for our members.
Replacing the Postal Service's 30-year-old trucks with new ones with AC is expected to start late next year and take several more to complete. Unless some changes are made to help these carriers cool off, they have to stick it out.
One postal carrier told me he's going through at least 6 bottles of water a day. Reporting in West Palm Beach, I'm Matt Cesny.
In Florida, some believe the next victim of the state's property insurance crisis could be the governor's presidential bid, but not everyone feels that way. Some in Congress are calling Governor Ron DeSantis' handling of the market disqualifying, while political experts don't think the rest of the country are going to care. Forrest Sanders with Scripps News Tallahassee has more on this ongoing debate.
This latest round of frustration and fear was set off on Tuesday when Farmers Insurance announced that it would be ending its Farmers-branded home, auto, and umbrella policies in the Sunshine State. That has now set off a new blame game amongst Florida's politicians, and the governor is now weighing in. With worries still rippling in Florida after Farmers Insurance announced it's dropping nearly 100,000 policies.
Ladies and gentlemen,
questions about the insurance crisis are now reaching Governor Ron DeSantis on the presidential campaign trail.
Governor DeSantis, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Hey, Howie, how are you doing?
Conservative radio host Howie Carr asked Wednesday how DeSantis is handling things. The White House hopeful responded by saying recent reforms cutting incentives to sue insurers need more time to work, but predicted Florida would see relief.
It now is more economical for companies to come in. I think they're going to wait through this hurricane season. Knock on wood, we won't have a big storm this summer. And then I think you're going to start to see companies see an advantage.
Critics have condemned the governor for that response as weak, including those at the federal level.
Knock on wood? This isn't what we should be hearing from our leaders.
Freshman Congressman Maxwell Frost thought the governor's handling of the insurance crisis has been ineffective. He considered it disqualifying in a bid for president.
Just hope that a hurricane doesn't come. That doesn't cut it. It's not enough, and disqualifying as a leader. I'd say the same thing if he was a Democrat.
But political experts like Professor Sean Foreman tell us DeSantis inherited the problem and notes the reforms enacted were bipartisan. Plus, he said,
"Hello, Iowa!"
Voters in Iowa and New Hampshire, key states for the GOP nomination, likely don't care much about the Florida issue.
The Florida legislature's worked very hard to create an environment here that is bringing capital to the state.
Meanwhile, back at home, Republicans like Florida's chief financial officer continue to blame Farmers Financials for the departure. That's despite the company saying it was leaving to, quote, effectively manage risk exposure.
Farmers at the corporate C-level suites just really, should be chastised, they should be beat up, and really they're not really a good friend of the citizens of the state of Florida right now.
Democrats in the legislature don't accept that, wanting better reforms like using state dollars to ease reinsurance costs. And while some have suggested another special session is needed, others want a change of leadership, hoping voters will agree at the ballot box in 2024. So will we see another property insurance special session? Well, that looks very unlikely at this point, as Democrats would need every member of their caucus to say yes, plus help from the GOP supermajority. And it doesn't look like Republicans are interested at this point. That's the latest out here at the Capitol. I'm Forrest Saunders reporting.
Coming up next, the House nearly passed the defense spending bill. The move suggesting more fighting could be ahead on Capitol Hill. We'll have the details on the controversy. And don't forget, you can always count on us for all of your news at the primetime hours as well, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern. We'll be right back.
Nothing is more important than family. A family you're born into, a family you choose, or a family you make. I'm Padma Lakshmi. I came to this country when I was 4 years old with my mother. We came here because it was a land of opportunity. But for many, that's not the case.
Porque primero me separaron de mi mamá y de ahí de mi hermano.
Immigrant families are being separated. Black and brown families are torn apart by a broken legal system. LGBTQ people suffer discrimination in adoption and healthcare. The need to protect and defend the civil liberties we all hold dear is more urgent than ever because families belong together. You can help by joining the American Civil Liberties Union today.
Call or go online now and become an ACLU Guardian of Liberty. All it takes is just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day.
The ACLU has fought to allow LGBTQ couples to marry, for racial justice, to stop family separation. We can't do this work without you. Together, we can defend our democracy, ensure liberty and justice for all, and keep families strong.
So please, call the ACLU now or go to myaclu.org. When you use your credit card, you'll receive this special member kit to show you're part of a movement to defend free speech, protect our civil liberties, and keep families together.
I hope you'll join me in supporting the ACLU today, because we, the people, means all of us.
Call or go online to myaclu.org to become a guardian of liberty today.
Do you spend hours maintaining your gutters? Save that time with LeafGuard's maintenance-free system. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS. Mesh filters sit on top of your gutters, building up debris and eventually clogging. Then they need to be cleaned too. Honestly, your home should have been built with LeafGuard gutters. LeafGuard's wraparound hood deflects debris and keeps water away from your home. The one-piece seamless system is strong, 20% thicker than average, and built to last. Plus, LeafGuard is guaranteed to never clog for as long as you own your home. Right now, get a complete LeafGuard system for only $99 down, $99 a month, and $99 installation. You'll also receive a $100 Visa gift card with a free gutter inspection and in-home estimate. Damage from clogged gutters can cost you thousands. Never worry about clogged gutters again. Don't wait, you've still got time. Call 1-833-2-GUTTERS today. That's 1-833-2-GUTTERS.
In Washington, the House passed the defense spending bill this morning. Republicans pushing through numerous controversial amendments, including changes to the military's abortion policy. And that caused hundreds of Democrats to vote against this defense bill, putting final passage of the bill in jeopardy. The bill now heads to the Democratic-controlled Senate. Congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed joins us now live from Capitol Hill. And Nate, in the end, almost all but a handful of Democrats voted against this bill. And we've been talking about all of these amendments. You were saying there were some 500 to 1,500 amendments. How did these amendments factor into all of this?
Well, look, there was a number of these amendments which were fairly bipartisan. Democrats and Republicans supported them. Remember, the House is under a Republican majority, so it's often up to Republicans to deliver the lion's share of votes to get things passed. It's up to Speaker Kevin McCarthy what bills, and for that matter, what amendments make their way to the House floor. But I just want to highlight some of these divisive amendments which were able to pass and end up on this final National Defense Authorization Act package, which caused Republicans to lose Democratic support. Those amendments included striking down the military's abortion policy. That passed. Also preventing transgender health care coverage. That amendment passed as well. Prohibiting funds for diversity and inclusion efforts. Several amendments passed to that effect to prevent the Pentagon from spending money on that. The one amendment, controversial amendment, I might add, that did fail was defunding aid to Ukraine. And it's worth noting, Veronica, that's just a smattering of some of the amendments that were voted on. A number of them were also controversial, preventing the Biden administration from doing anything about climate change or unilaterally doing anything about climate change. Also preventing the flying of any alternate flags as opposed to the American flag to basically prevent military institutions from flying, let's say, the Pride flag during the month of June. Those are all the sorts of divisive amendments that were passed that ended up losing Democratic support on what was otherwise a bipartisan bill. Here's House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries this morning.
Our view of the National Defense Authorization Act is that it is woefully irresponsible that extreme MAGA Republicans have hijacked a bipartisan bill that is essential to our national security and taken it over and weaponized it in order to jam their extreme right-wing ideology down the throats of the American people.
And Veronica, this bill was extremely bipartisan, $875+ billion in defense spending for next year. It was voted out of committee with pretty much unanimous support from Democrats and Republicans. It's only once these amendments were added that Democrats in large numbers decided to not support it.
But it has passed the House, and now it goes to the Senate, where Democrats are in control. What are you hearing from senators right now, Nate?
Well, the Senate's not in today, but the early word is senators are not happy. Senator Mark Warner was in D.C. today at a different press conference, but addressed some of these divisive amendments in the National Defense Authorization Act, saying this.
I am bitterly disappointed that a bipartisan defense authorization bill is being caught up by political grandstanding amendments. You know, people in the House realize this idea that you're going to restrict service members' ability to get access to health care just isn't going to fly in the Senate. And to try to stick that in as kind of a gotcha amendment is not only bad faith, but it's disrespectful to our armed forces.
And the U.S. Senate expected to take this bill up to begin its consideration of it this coming Tuesday. That's when they return from this weekend recess. Again, this is a bill that's going to have even more amendments added to it. There are multiple amendments that I've seen, just press releases from various Senate offices, Democrats and Republicans. There's even more that senators want to add to this bill. There's a possibility, though, that part of the work that they do could remove some of those divisive Republican partisan amendments and make this once again a bipartisan bill. Again, Veronica, they're going to need bipartisan support if this bill is to pass the Democrat-controlled U.S. Senate and the Republican-controlled U.S. House and go to President Biden's desk for a signature.
That's right. And they're breaking for August recess soon. So they're going to have to get it done really, really quickly. All right, Anna Reed in Washington. Nate, thank you so much. Have a good weekend. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, we're going to take a closer look at what's ahead for former President Trump's legal troubles. We'll be right back.
I was having problems with my legs and my feet.
I suffered a lot of cramps, swelling.
I would dread going up and down steps.
Tingling in my legs due to circulation issues.
The aches and pains have just continued to increase.
Did you know if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, or are over 40, your leg aches and pains could be from poor circulation? Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps. Revitive uses breakthrough technology to get your calf muscles pumping like a second heart to increase blood flow, reducing leg aches and pains, cramps, or swollen feet and ankles.
Plus, it's drug-free.
The cramping was terrible, and I don't get that anymore. Thank you, Revitive.
Revitive is FDA cleared and clinically proven to increase oxygen-rich blood flow during use. The smart stimulation works so well, over 3 million people use Revitive.
As a firefighter, I'm constantly on my feet. I wish I had known about Revitive a lot earlier. It would have made a huge difference in really who I am today.
Revitive has given me a better quality of life because I am living without pain.
Revitive reduces leg pains 2 times more than exercise alone in just 6 weeks.
We want to take walks. We want to do more social activities, just the typical things in life that I did not feel well enough before Revitive that I was able to do.
Now, Revitive is regenerizing my legs and making me feel like, let's do more.
Go to Revitive.com now to learn how Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps.
The doctor said, go for it. And I'm in the best shape in terms of my legs and my ankles and my feet than I've ever been.
Try Revitive. You will see the difference. It works. It worked for me.
Get the most out of life with Revitive. Visit Revitive.com. That's REVITIVE.com. Or call
1-800-317-6641. That's 1-800-317-6641 today. Or visit Revitive.com. Order now.
That's $78.29.
Oh, I've only got $50. Take out the cheese puffs and the broccoli. I mean, who likes broccoli?
I don't. Only $22.87 to go.
It would be faster with the Empower app. Empower Cash Advance gives you up to $250 instantly. No late fees, interest, or credit checks.
I've got money. Keep the cheese puffs, but leave out the broccoli.
Get Empower Cash Advance up to $250 instantly. Download the Empower app today.
I'm Del Walters, and this is The Debrief.
Nearly 40 million Americans on alert.
Breaking down the headlines.
We're going to take a deeper dive.
Scripps News brings you reporting from across the country.
In downtown Baltimore. Live in Maricopa County.
And around the world.
The counteroffensive is likely to kick off.
Scripps News, London.
With up-to-the-minute information, giving you the whole story.
Let's get you caught up on some of today's top stories.
The Debrief, live tonight, starting at 6/5 Central, only on Scripps News.
Quick reminder right here, we'd like to hear from you. You can give us a call on our Scripps News Viewer Hotline toll free. That number is 1-833-4SCRIPPS. Feel free to share your comments and your story ideas. So the Federal Trade Commission is investigating OpenAI, the maker of ChatGPT, for possible violations of consumer protection law. It's already had significant implications in the classroom. Caroline Hogan with Scripps News takes a closer look.
It seems so simple. Ask a question, and ChatGPT will answer it for you.
I can even ask it to write me a TV news script on its effect in classrooms. It's going to spit out a story with facts and fill in the blanks. This is only a fraction of what it can do. And if it's this easy for me, think about how easy it is for students.
I do think it allows kids to be lazy if they want to be.
But there's pros and cons to everything.
There's so much that we don't know what it can help our teachers do yet.
We're taking this topic 360, talking to a skeptical parent, young students using the tech in school right now, a law student who's taking the tools outside the classroom, and a school administrator who's helping teachers in her district prepare for the next school year.
It's just so different from the way that I was raised and the way that I was taught.
Stephanie Manning has two daughters, both at Shawnee Mission East. She learned about ChatGPT through them.
It just seemed really strange to me that there's this almost like robot that can do all of your work for you.
As a parent, she lives in this in-between world where she's skeptical of too much tech.
When my kids were in elementary school, they introduced iPads into the classroom. And at first, it was upsetting to me because I wasn't ready for my kids to be on the screen all day, every day.
But now sees the positives.
I feel like it's just a different medium. It's just a different way for them to express themselves. It's better to prepare them now and teach them how to use these tools.
I think I use my laptop like every time I'm in class.
These two rising sophomores use AI every day in summer school classes at Manual Career Technical Center, like Google Classroom and Translate.
We needed Google Translate, and now I can speak English a little bit.
But have only been exposed to ChatGPT on TikTok.
The teachers were talking about it in class. You know, she was saying that she has a thing that can check if you use copy and paste or ChatGPT.
And if you get caught,
I know it's automatic 0.
A recent survey from Best Colleges talked to 1,000 undergraduate and graduate students. 43% said they've used AI, and of that, over half have used it to complete assignments.
There's always going to be cheating and stuff, but you know, you just gotta like rely on your students to have integrity and, you know, be honest.
Over at the University of Missouri, Kansas City Law School, Caroline Schumann is in summer school too.
So the mailbox rule is...
She uses ChatGPT merely as a tool to help her study for the bar.
It is pretty decent at checking spelling. I want to use this word. Can you give me examples of how to make it more professional, or how do I end this sentence?
She ended up writing her thesis on ChatGPT and its accuracy, feeding it previous essays and test questions and seeing how it ranked.
Overall, it probably would have passed the class if it would have been a student.
But there's still that daunting thought. What if it got something wrong?
If you think about it being trained on the whole internet, there's a lot of good sources out there and there's a lot that are debatable.
And the importance of teaching students to use it as a tool, not a crutch.
Would you say you're more cautious or optimistic with something like this?
I think you have both.
Teachers are figuring this out too.
Alongside our students who are also learning about it.
Jenny Collier is in charge of that in the Shawnee Mission School District.
ChatGPT and AI isn't going away, that this is our students' future.
They're already thinking of ways it can enhance lessons.
Let's have it do a writing prompt for us. Let's have it write an essay for us so that we as a class can start to pick apart this essay that ChatGPT wrote for us. Lessons on how to fact check, right? Like we're always telling our kids, you can't just believe everything that you hear. You can't believe everything that you read on the internet. That's ChatGPT, right?
While lessening the load for our teachers.
I'm no longer spending time and hours creating an assessment and a rubric, but I can have it give me a baseline.
The Department of Education's AI report from May says that it rejects the idea that teachers can be replaced by AI, and the educators agree.
Is there a fear of that? No, absolutely not. Can't replace human interactions.
Unlocking new potential If we learn how to use it for good,
If teachers are to embrace it, we have no idea what that could unlock, what people can develop and create with it.
In Kansas City, I'm Caroline Hogan for Scripps News.
Well, the Internal Revenue Service said that it would go after high-income tax dodgers, and it did. The agency collected $38 million in delinquent taxes from more than 175 customers. IRS investigators say that one taxpayer used money that was supposed to go to the government and instead bought a Maserati and a Bentley. Around 100 taxpayers were busted for seeking favorable tax treatment through Puerto Rico while ignoring certain tax requirements. Some could end up facing criminal charges. In health news now, several medical groups applaud the FDA's approval of an over-the-counter birth control pill. It's called the O-pill, and it's expected to hit store shelves early next year. Stephanie Susskind with Scripps News West Palm Beach takes a look at the impact of this historic move.
I'm paying everything out of pocket, so it's kind of crazy coming in for the appointment, but that's really convenient for a lot of women.
Pamela Oliveira says she would be very interested in purchasing a birth control pill over the counter, but she has one big question.
Do you know how much on average it would cost?
That is still unknown. But what we do know, the O-pill will be sold over the counter, removing barriers for women who don't have insurance or access to a doctor. Michelle Casada is now the Vice President of Communications for Planned Parenthood of Southeast and North Florida. She calls this a historic moment for health equity.
We know that half of all pregnancies are unintended, and the main barrier to contraception use is access to healthcare, which is making an appointment with a doctor and then getting a prescription for birth control.
The O-pill is known as the mini pill, and it only contains progestin. Doctors caution this pill may not be right for everyone, and it's important to know your medical history, possible side effects, and how to take it properly.
The progestin-only based pills typically have a lower effectiveness than other methods. Most methods have a 99% effectiveness where less than one person will get pregnant each year. Progestin-only pills actually have an effectiveness level of 93%. So it is very important to make sure that you take your pills on time.
Pharmacist Hayden Collier at Progress Pharmacy also says he's glad to see the option become available, but knows it's not a one-size-fits-all.
So there'll have to be great education on someone who is getting it, the pharmacist, make sure that they ask questions, what to expect, and if they are having these side effects, how they can either manage them or how they may need to switch to, see a doctor to switch to something different.
Stephanie Susskind, Scripps News.
In other health news now, the World Health Organization's cancer agency is now classifying aspartame as a possible cause of cancer. The artificial sweetener is widely used in diet soda and in food. Other health groups still consider the sugar substitute as safe. But generally, scientists advise people to consume products that contain aspartame at a moderate level. Aspartame joins a list of more than 300 other possible cancer-causing agents, including aloe vera extract and carpentry work. I'm Veronica Cruz. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. And don't forget, you can always check us out on ScripsNews.com. If you're staying with us right now, we have much more news headed your way on Scripps News Live, including President Biden's new plan to help millions of student loan borrowers. Why this plan is different. And remember, you can always find our stories and much more online. Check us out at ScripsNews.com on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and on Threads. We'll be right back.
There's a new victim of identity theft every 3 seconds. Checking your credit score or bank statements may not be enough to alert you. That's because identity threats appear in more places than you realize, making it dangerously easy to become a victim.
Someone got my social security number, made a driver's license, and tried to buy a car in my name. Felt really devastating, frightened, because I had no control.
Identity thieves can use your information to open loans, transfer home titles, even commit crimes.
Someone used my information to open up bank accounts in my name. It was terrifying, not knowing what was out there and what had been opened.
But protecting your identity can be easy with LifeLock, a leader in identity theft protection. LifeLock monitors for threats to your identity, especially ones you may miss by simply checking your accounts or credit. If there's an issue, LifeLock will alert you.
There was a big yes button and there was a big no button. So I clicked, "That's not me," and LifeLock took it from there.
And if you're a victim, your dedicated U.S.-based restoration specialist will work to fix it.
If something happens, you have somebody fighting for you. I don't know what I would have done without my restoration specialist.
all plans backed by LifeLock's $1 million protection package, including reimbursement for stolen funds, personal expenses, and coverage for lawyers and experts if needed.
With the $1 million protection package, I know LifeLock has me covered.
It can be dangerously easy to steal your identity, but now it's easy to help protect yourself.
I realize identity theft can happen to anybody, so that's why I signed up for LifeLock.
Join the millions of people already protected by LifeLock, and for a limited time, save 25% with promo code 25 today. LifeLock, identity theft protection starts here. Call 800-301-9328 or visit lifelock.com/25 today and use promo code 25 today to save 25% on your first year of identity theft protection. Enroll now.
Hey there, welcome to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. Great to see you on this Friday. Time now to get you caught up on the day's top stories. So analysts say that 2023 is on track to becoming the deadliest year since 2006. According to a database maintained by the Associated Press, USA Today, and Northeastern University, the nation saw 28 mass killings, nearly half involving guns from January to June. That breaks the previous record of 27 set in the second half of last year. Mass killings involve 4 or more victims being killed at roughly the same time and location. The database includes all intentional killings from shootings to strangulations. Authorities have a New York architect in custody right now in relation to a series of murders dating back to 2010. At least 10 sets of human remains have turned up on 2 Long Island beaches since then. They belong to 9 women, a man, and a toddler. Police say they will have more information in an upcoming press conference and say that an indictment could be announced. Now to Washington, where the White House has set aside $20 billion to produce clean energy products. Money would go to things like electric vehicle charging stations, community cooling centers, and heat pumps for the home. The grants are for nonprofits and other groups, especially those in traditionally underserved areas. The so-called Green Bank will allocate the money. Also happening in Washington right now, student loans remaining a focus for President Biden and his administration. Last month, by a 6-3 vote, the Supreme Court ruled that the administration had overstepped its authority by saying it would cancel up to $400 billion in student loan debt. Today, the announcement of a broader plan, which will provide more than 804,000 borrowers with immediate relief. White House correspondent Haley Bull is in Washington. Haley, I know that you've been parsing this plan and have the details on it. How does it differ from the last one?
Well, Veronica, the administration, particularly the education secretary, says what they're doing here is, quote, fixing a broken system. And big picture, this is one piece of the larger effort from the Biden administration to provide student debt relief. Now, with this announcement, the Education Department expects nearly $40 billion in student debt relief for more than 804,000 people as they are notified of discharges here. And the department says this is due to fixes in the monthly payment counts tied to the income-driven repayment plans that qualify for forgiveness. And it's really part of a larger ongoing effort addressing payment counts in that regard. Eligibility is when there are qualifying payments for the equivalent of 20 to 25 years. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona tells Scripps News that the beneficiaries here will learn that they are either done, they're closer to payment, or they're receiving reimbursement for overpaying. Listen.
It really is an adjustment that was made based on poor practices before we got here. So these borrowers are owed this. This is not something in addition. They are owed this. And it was passed in a bipartisan fashion in the past. So what we're doing is making right what was not being done well. So we're fixing a system. So with that said, though, I recognize that we will be challenged every step of the way when we're fighting for borrowers, when we're fighting to make higher education more affordable, more accessible, more equitable. That is our charge.
And certainly Republicans have criticized the president's broader student debt forgiveness plan, but also today's actions in particular from some. House Education and Workforce Committee Chairwoman Virginia Fox called it a political attempt, stating, quote, today's celebration of counting no payments as payments is just the latest example of the ongoing delusion at the White House. Now, this announcement comes as the administration also takes additional steps in the wake of the Supreme Court striking down Biden's student debt forgiveness plan. Cardona says that Supreme Court ruling is critical in how they approach the next steps as they try to reach as many borrowers as possible, as quickly as possible. Now, the Biden administration is seeking an alternative path using a different legal mechanism, the Higher Education Act, though the details of what that will look like are not yet clear as the rulemaking process, and that is just getting started. And they're also looking at a program to reduce payments that they call SAFE, which Cardona says they expect more information out within 2 weeks on that. Now, the Education Department says when it comes to this action in particular, they will continue identifying borrowers every 2 months until next year when all borrowers' payment counts will be updated. Veronica.
All right, Haley, we are watching this one closely. Haley Bull live for us in Washington. Haley, thank you so much. So President Biden, in the meantime, says that he is open to a possible prisoner exchange for Wall Street reporter Evan Gershkovich. The Kremlin suggesting it was a possibility earlier this month. Gershkovich has spent more than 100 days in a Russian prison now. He's accused of espionage. The Kremlin said any negotiations need to take place out of the public eye. White House National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan confirmed last week that the two countries are talking. So the CDC says Black Americans are 2 times more likely to die from heart disease compared to white Americans, and 50% more likely to have high blood pressure. Brianna Hamblin with Scripps News Nashville introduces us to a couple that's been fighting against these statistics.
One Nashville couple is helping hundreds of other Black people live healthier by creating a safe space for them to get active and focus on their wellness.
When I change the way I think, I change the way I live.
Let's take 5 full, deep cleansing breaths at your pace. It's okay to be still in life.
Affirmations, the sounds of water rippling, birds and insects singing, and deep breaths. Dr. Kimberly and Claude Walker lead guided meditations like this when they bring the Black Wellness Collective together. The Walkers founded the collective in 2018, then it exploded more than they could have imagined during the start of the pandemic in 2020. Now, the Nashville Black Wellness Collective is an award-winning organization, bringing together a supportive community of people who want to break the barriers surrounding physical and mental health in the Black community.
We feel like we want to create a space to make people basically inviting to actually want to take on their health, want to be more healthy, and Black people really need that.
It wasn't that long ago when segregation kept Black people out of pools and state parks. Kimberly says now they are the generation to reclaim being a part of nature.
To show our community that there are so many different ways that we can practice wellness. It's not just one way. And that's been a fun part of the journey, that people are trying new things and getting comfortable with getting out of their comfort zone. And like, okay, we do this. These spaces are for us.
The collective does activities such as yoga in the woods, hiking to waterfalls, kayaking, horseback riding, white water rafting, yearly retreats, fitness classes, and even traveling to new countries.
We actually are the definition of we outside, you know.
Yeah. Years before the collective was even a thought in their minds, they started their wellness journey together with the goal of being the healthiest versions of themselves for their future daughter.
I was really going through, an experience with infertility, and my motivation was to get as healthy as possible to, increase my chances of giving birth to my babies.
I had high blood pressure, and I just didn't feel good at all. I was always tired. Honestly, I didn't want to die. And it was literally a life or death situation for me. And that's what made me jump on this path. And that's still in my mind every day. Like, I want to be healthy. I want to be here and make sure I'm here for my baby girl.
Collectively, they've lost over 140 pounds together. And now their 2-year-old daughter, Ada, joins them on their hikes.
Say wee! Wee!
They say they're exposing their daughter to health and wellness, and getting other adults on their adventures helps them all start new, positive, generational cycles.
Because that's how a lot of people discover the outdoors and recreation. Someone has handed that down to you. If we can expose that to the parents or even grandparents and aunts and uncles, then they go back and take that to their children.
That was Brianna Hamblin reporting there for us. So Sunday will mark 1 year since the 988 Suicide and Crisis Line Lifeline has rolled out, and it offers assistance to those who need help or know someone who needs help during a crisis. According to the Department of Health and Human Services, over the past year, this lifeline has responded to nearly 5 million calls, text messages, and chats. And for more context, compared to the 12 months before the launch, contact via text skyrocketed more than 1,000%. Chats increased more than 140%, and answered calls jumped about 46%. Terry Tanillian joins us now live. She is the Special Assistant to the President at the Domestic Policy Council. Terry, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me and highlighting this really important topic.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that this helpline responds to thousands of calls, text messages, and chats every day, like we just laid out. Over the past year, Terry, what have you learned about mental health in America?
So there's no doubt that we are facing an unprecedented mental health crisis in this nation. We've seen the rates of depression and anxiety, and particularly suicidal thoughts and concerns among our youth, increase over the past few years. We have been dedicated to making sure that we can expand access to mental health services when and where people need them. And so our move to the new 3-digit lifeline, 988, means support is here. It is just a call, a text, or a chat away to reach trained crisis counselors who can help address the issues that individuals are facing and get them connected to the care that they might need. And so with the increased volume, we know that this is working. And so we've been able to help nearly 5 million individuals get connected to that counseling. And we hope to continue to provide this long into the future and expand those services even further.
And I understand, Terry, that this crisis line actually services different demographics. And for example, the Veterans Crisis Line answered almost 1 million of the nearly 5 million inquiries that it received over the past year. Terry, what does this tell you about the state of mental health for veterans and this service that is now being provided to them?
So no doubt, the Veterans Crisis Line is a critical resource in reaching those veterans, military service members, and their loved ones who may be facing a crisis. And as we move to 988, now by pressing 1, those individuals can reach out to the Veterans Crisis Line and get connected. And so as we continue our work to drive down the rate of suicide in the veteran and military community, the Veteran Crisis Line is a critical asset. But as you noted, 988 is available for other specialized services as well. We've expanded now to ensure that there is Spanish services via text, call, and chat. And for LGBTQ youth, we also have an availability for them to text Q to 988, as well as to press 3 to get access to non-judgmental crisis services right away.
And how many people would you say that you have serviced so far from the LGBTQ plus community? What has the progress been looking like there?
So we just recently expanded this service, and so we expect we'll see significant increases in our ability to reach those in need of emotional support and in the time of crisis. Just like we're expanding the Spanish services, we expect to see those numbers grow significantly in the coming year.
All right, so I know that 988 has added Spanish text, also chat, like you were just alluding to. What about plans to roll out services in other languages? What more can you tell us about that?
So when reaching 988, we do have support in many other languages available that folks can, get some language assistance when they call in. But we are also looking to include additional services that will help the hard of hearing and other visual opportunities to connect with a 988 lifeline. So look for more innovations on the horizon as we work diligently to put the President's investments to work to expand access to crisis care. We want to ensure that everyone has someone to talk to, someone to respond, and somewhere safe to go for help when they're in a crisis.
And as you head into the second year, what do you think are the biggest challenges and obstacles that lie ahead for 988?
Sure. Well, we want our states to be our greatest and partners in trying to ensure that we are hiring and expanding capacity in our local crisis centers, because it is really, really critical that we can connect people to the support they need right in their own communities. And so as we build out this lifeline, we're looking to continue the partnership with states as we invest the federal resources to help them build and grow and expand the type of services that we can offer. We'll also be working to ensure that we can get upstream and provide people the resources and support they need before a crisis strikes, so that we can ensure that they can find other sources of support. Earlier this year, we rolled out findsupport.gov, which is that easy to access resource for individuals that are looking how and where to find help for a mental health need.
All right, and that website is findsupport.gov, and of course the number is 988. Terry Danielian with the Domestic Policy Council. Terry, thank you so much for stopping by today. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And we are back after this.
I've been putting off getting life insurance, and I'm not getting any younger.
Have you been thinking about getting a life insurance plan but just keep putting it off? Was that a yes? Then this message is for you. I'm David Denowitz, and I know the importance of life insurance. And that's why I'm here to tell you it's not too late to get the coverage you need.
If you're between the ages of 45 and 85, you can get a policy with a benefit of up to $25,000 and rates available at $5 a week. The phone lines are now open. Just call 800-354-6059.
And your acceptance is guaranteed.
I have a pre-existing medical condition. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes.
Can I get accepted without a medical exam?
Yes. If you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down for this guaranteed acceptance life insurance regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions. And rates start at just $5 a week. Remember, if you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down regardless of your health. Nothing's more important than family. So call now, pick up the phone, and get guaranteed acceptance life insurance today.
Just call 800-354-6059.
I'm 72 and on a fixed income. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes, your acceptance is guaranteed, and your rate can never go up for any reason. You can't be turned down regardless of your health. There's just one simple question. Are you between 45 and 85? If you answered yes, don't wait another minute. Call now.
The call is absolutely free, and there is no obligation to enroll. Just call 800-354-6059. That's 800-354-6059.
I have patients who think they've tried everything for their sweat. That's when I recommend Carpe. Carpe specializes in effective sweat solutions at an affordable price, with products for the face, hands, underarms, and more.
It's honestly just completely changed my life.
Nothing worked for me until I found Carpe.
This makes my life so much less slippery.
I've personally seen the difference that Carpe can make.
Avoid expensive treatments, injections, and prescriptions. Your total body sweat solution is available at mycarpe.com. Visit today and get free shipping.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
You're watching Scripps News. Streaming everywhere, totally free. Want to see more? Grab the app on your favorite streaming platform or go to scripsnews.com to find every way to watch. Go to scripsnews.com now to find out more.
Hey there, welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. So the entertainment industry has found itself in a situation it hasn't seen for more than half a century. Thousands of actors have joined the picket line in front of major studios after the Screen Actors Guild officially called for a strike. And it began 1 minute past midnight on the West Coast. Actors have now joined their colleagues from the Writers Guild who've been striking since May. And this is the first joint strike in more than 60 years. Associated Press entertainment reporter Andrew Dalton joining us now live from Los Angeles. Andrew, How did we get here? I mean, how did we end up with both the writers and the actors striking at the exact same time?
You know, more than anything, this comes from the shift from traditional broadcast and cable models over to streaming. You know, it used to be that if you were on an episode of Seinfeld or The Office, and you know, every time it reran on television, you would get a check, and that was a really important source of income for actors and for writers. With the move to Netflix and Hulu, places like that, they're not getting that piece of the income, so they're really looking for a way to get that share of income that was so essential, especially for the people who you know, maybe weren't rich and famous, the lesser actors. There's also this issue of artificial intelligence. Both actors and writers are looking for safeguards against studios, you know, taking their work, transforming it digitally, and using it, you know, without their input and without their pay.
Right. So there obviously is a lot at stake here. Do you know how long these strikes could last, Andrew, and what kind of an impact this will have on the industry as a whole? I mean, how do you think this is going to change the entertainment industry?
It's really difficult to say. As you said, this hasn't happened in, you know, since 1960, where we had two unions like this out at the same time. And so it's really almost unprecedented territory. It's so difficult to say how this is going to look on the other side. I mean, past writer strikes have lasted anywhere from 3 to 5 months. Actor strikes are generally a little bit shorter. But both sides, you know, when the talks broke off, said they were so far apart. And, you know, there aren't talks planned for either side now. So it could really stretch out for a long time, and it's hard to know what the industry is going to look like on the other side.
Do you know how far apart the two sides are? I mean, I know that Fran Drescher came out yesterday. She spoke with the press. I wanted to get your reaction to what she had to say, and also get your thoughts as to how far the two sides are right now.
I mean, she was so adamant yesterday. She was angry. She was calling, Fran Drescher was calling the offers from the studios disgusting. I mean, it was that level of vitriol. They were saying that, you know, the offers that they're getting, and we don't really know the specifics of those. I mean, the talks have happened in private. We've heard, you know, general outlines. But they say the offers that the studios are making aren't even, you know, beginning to be acceptable. So you know, there's going to a big bridge to gap. You know, there was a federal mediator in with the actors and the studios on the last day, but that did nothing to end it. And you know, with this isn't like the railroads or sort of, you know, the kind of thing where the federal government is going to step in immediately and try to bring a stop to it. I mean, entertainment is an important part of the culture and the economy, but they don't take those kinds of measures. So it's really hard to say. I mean, it's very easy to see this going into next year.
And one of the things that Drescher had to say when she was calling out CEOs and the movie studios is she was saying that they were greedy. When you think about the entertainment industry or the movie industry, you know, we were just looking at pictures right there of the cast of SNL. You don't necessarily think of these actors as being starving actors. When the Screen Actors Guild is fighting for a quote-unquote living wage, what do they mean by that essentially?
Well, you know, the Screen Actors Guild is 65,000 people in the acting part of the union. You know, so the people that you know who are rich and famous is maybe, you know, 3-4% of that group. So, you know, there are a lot of people who sort of, you know, struggle to find work, you know, jump from job to job, maybe make a one-off appearance on a TV show, a small part in a movie. And, you know, those people aren't making a killing. Those people, many of them really are struggling, especially with the consistency of money coming in. So, you know, when they're looking for that kind of long-term guaranteed pay that comes from having your work still out there, having your work on streaming services, they're looking for that kind of consistent flow of money that has really dried up, especially for the poorest people in the union.
Yeah, well, things have really changed with technology and streaming as a whole, so it's going to be interesting to see where things head next. Andrew Dalton with the Associated Press. Andrew, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we're following these stalled negotiations closely for you right here on Scripps News Live. You can find the latest at scripsnews.com. You can also give us a follow on social media at Scripps News on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and of course on Threads. Still to come on Scripps News Live, the lotto frenzy continues. Up next, why millions are taking a chance with a $2 bet that could potentially change lives. We'll be right back.
Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
Oh, honey. Your dad and I can't stop talking about this baby that's coming.
We've also been thinking a lot about our future, and no matter what, we want to make sure we aren't leaving you and your family with any of our debts.
Just last week, we read that the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more.
Wow, Jeff and I definitely would not have the money to pay for that.
And that's just a funeral. But you don't have to worry. We called, and with one phone call, we were eligible for $50,000 for our funeral and final expenses.
Well, that's great, but don't you need to take a medical exam to qualify? You and Mom have some health issues.
No, there's no medical exam, and we were able to get coverage right over the phone.
And our rates can never be increased, our benefits can never be decreased, and our coverage can never be canceled.
I'm so glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-293-5789 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-293-5789 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-293-5789. That's 800-293-5789. 800-293-5789.
Wounded Warrior Project has been with me every step of my journey.
They've helped me realize it's possible to rise to the top again.
It's possible to get the help I need for me and my family.
It's possible to hang push-ups again.
To feel understood.
To begin healing both inside and out.
To feel like myself again.
And now I know anything is possible.
Sure, you should teach him to ride a bike. Then use Greenlight and teach him how to invest in bikes. Teach him to be smart about money, and he'll go far.
Super far! Oh, hey, Mom!
Navigate the world of money together. Invest in your best investment. Greenlight.
Do you have an idea for a story you would like to see or a comment on our coverage you want to share? We want to hear from you. Call our Scripps News viewer hotline at 833-4-SCRIPPS. That's 833-4-SCRIPPS.
And a quick reminder right here, we'd like to hear from you. You can give us a call on our Scripps News viewer hotline toll free. That number is on your screen right now. It's 1-833-4-SCRIPPS. Feel free to share your comments and your story ideas. So Lotto Mania has been sweeping the nation with more than $1 billion up for grabs. The Powerball jackpot, nearly $900 million right now. And Mega Millions, well, that's almost $600 million. So the chance, though, of hitting either jackpot, it's very slim. It's not going to stop ticket holders, though, from dreaming of becoming the next big millionaire.
Every now and then, $2 could increase your chances of benefiting your future, so why not? You know, you won't win if you don't try.
That's true. Do you get like a rush whenever you play?
No, I don't keep my hopes up. You keep your hopes up, end up being disappointed, so just keep your fingers crossed and forget about it until the time comes.
There you go. You can't win if you don't try. Mega Millions next drawing is happening tonight. Mark your calendar. Powerball is happening tomorrow. And best of luck to you. I'm Veronica Cruz. Thank you so much for joining us today. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. Don't forget, you can always check us out on scripsnews.com.
This year, Americans will